Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. As always, I'm your niece, Katie Albrecht.
And I'm your aunt, Mary Albrecht. And we had a lot of technology problems leading up to this podcast. So we are a little punchy because we sat here for 50 minutes trying to get this thing going. But you know what? We are tenacious people, and our guest is tenacious. Oh, yeah, we have a guest. Everyone, please welcome Delores Garcia. Say hello.
Hello, everyone. Please. So good to be here.
Hi.
So Delores is one of the authors of the book 365 Days of Self-Love that we first featured when we had Sally Sebastian Walker on. And we reached out to the other authors and oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, would you like to show
it? We have props.
To the left. And then we reached out to some of the authors, and Delores was interested in sharing what she has to offer in terms of mental health and resilience. And
she has a lot to offer.
Boy, does she. Yeah, it's like, good Lord. So anyway, we just met her last Saturday, and then this is a week later of recording. But we decided to kind of zero in on certain parts of her story, and perhaps she would like to be a repeat guest at some point, depending on how this goes for her, because we're a little punchy. So anyway, Delores, so why don't you just tell us about yourself? I know that you're in your bio in 365, you called yourself a personal success coach. Is that what you're still doing, or what is your main title, or you have several?
Well, I kind of make it up as I go along, and that's a life.
Aren't we all? Yeah, we're all doing it.
Like, the hardest question that anybody could ask you is, how are you? And I'm like, wow, I don't really, what do you want me to answer? Like, I don't know how I am, like how I'm doing. Like, can you pinpoint this? And so I am a life coach. I am a subconscious reprogrammer. I am an angel coach. I am a retired nutrition professor. I'm a certified personal trainer. So I was really, for a moment there, I was focusing on just the big category of success. And my passion came back to tap me on the shoulder of, girl, it's all about the body and the soul. And so I am a body and soul coach. And so that is success. But it's really very much targeted with our relationship between our body and our soul, our movement of our body, our fueling of our body, everything about this human existence. And so huge evolution. So success, yes. Body and soul coach, definitely. Not a linguist, though.
So that's okay.
I know you just said subconscious reprogramming, but you also mentioned deprogramming last week.
Yes.
What's the difference?
So when I again, it's all about evolution, and I love I love looking back on my life and seeing how the dots connect. And understanding, in hindsight, what the pathway is that when I became a certified life coach, that is very, very much on the conscious level. We work on a conscious mindset, being able to see what those negative voices in our head are. And there was still something that was kind of missing in my understanding of the brain. And then I did find subconscious reprogramming, where we can actually use some energy psychology and modalities to actually reprogram the subconscious mind to have thoughts and programs and belief systems that are much more beneficial and healthy and happy and serving. And I still do that. On a great basis with my clients. Those who have done much of their healing work they are ready. Actually, this is what I'm really realizing, is that they're ready to be actually deprogrammed, that they don't even need to be reprogrammed. And so deprogramming us is actually returning us back to our divine setting, our factory setting of inherent greatness, of divinity, the true self. That has been a huge lifelong journey for me of who am I? Like, who am I really, really, really? And I'm finally getting to that understanding of who the true self is, who the soul is of that person, and being able to live so much more in that space. So does that answer the question of what reprogramming and deprogramming is?
It does. And it sounds like deprogramming is taking away too, like you're taking away some of the crap that you've been through in your life in order to get back to your authentic self. Is that correct?
Yes.
I was thinking it sounds like when you get a new phone and you have to factory reset your old one so that it's a blank slate, and then you can build on it from there as you go.
Yes. And, much of the programs that we're running on are corrupt. Most of them are just frankly bullshit that we were taught. We were just simply taught, or we learned, we concluded things. When we were younger, we're trying to make sense of our world. And those programs got installed and they run our life. 95% of the thoughts that we think are based out of the subconscious mind. We are very efficient thinkers. We just install it, and then we don't have to consciously think about it. We have like 80,000 thoughts a day. That's kind of exhausting to consciously think.
Is that a study or something?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
I have, and I'm like, how did you even quantify that? I'm like,
how do you count that?
How do you even figure that out? But
someone just sit with like a ticker, like, oh, there was another one. There's another one. There's another one.
Yes.
And I'm also wondering if there's a difference between, and this is kind of tangent, but a difference between men and women of like how many thoughts. I feel like women's minds, and could be just generalizing, but they tend to go really fast, and there's always something going on, where I feel like there's like guys just have like, my friend told me this and I thought it was hilarious.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
That guys sometimes just have what she called was a nothing box, where there is nothing happening there.
Yeah.
Like they're able to just kind of actually not think about anything. And I'm just wondering, I don't know if you heard if there's a difference between genders or not.
I haven't. It's a valid point. And also think about overthinkers. People who are overthinkers are generating a huge, intense dialogue all the freaking time. Present company, included. And so, so it really, I have seen quantities of thoughts ranging from 50,000 to 70, whatever. The bottom line is, and please recognize that a lot of our subconscious thoughts, programs are based in the autonomic nervous system. So you don't have to think about breathing or beating your heart or digesting the food or the hormonal responses, all of the physiological things that happen. Those are based in the subconscious mind, in the autonomic nervous system. And so when we automate a thought or a belief system, let me give you an example. Is that because I specialize in body works and weight loss and health and wellness and everything, is that if someone has a belief system that, and we'll call it an identity, I am fat, I can't lose weight, I will always be fat, my family is fat, I will always be, it's like my destiny. It's my genetic inheritance. Those, my dears, are identities. They are belief systems They are based on you believing what you were told or what you experienced. And so it's a very, very sad but interesting phenomena is that these people can actually lose weight, but their ability of keeping that off for a long term time frame, they have this thing pulling them back all the freaking time. And so is it harder for them to lose weight? Maybe not physiologically, maybe not biochemically, but mentally, yes, because their brain goes, yeah, but you're fat. Yeah, but you can't
you're not
lose
gonna
weight.
succeed.
You've always been that way.
Yeah.
And so it really is that third component that we look at is, how is somebody fueling their body? How is somebody moving their body? And how is somebody believing about their body?
Thinking and about their body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's
It's interesting that you were talking about identities, because when you first got on, you were saying like all of your titles, like these were all the things that I am, and those are in themselves also a form of identities. But I also think they're not your full identity just because you do those things.
Right.
Those are just all little pieces that fit into this greater puzzle of Delores. Like and I think we all kind of label ourselves as a certain way, but it's not all of us. Like, we're podcasters, but we're not just podcasters, like we're authors, but we do so much more than that, like we're actually just a person outside of it.
and also you evolve, right, Delores? Like a healthy person continues to evolve and grow, I think.
Definitely.
You don't just arrive at a place and that's what you are.
Well, and that really brings us home to the field of infinite possibilities. Is that we are here because we have infinite possibility and infinite potential to evolve.
I love it.
We are so far from our actual infinite potential. And, there are some human beings who have touched one aspect of their actual physical potential. Okay, so we think of elite athletes. Like, could someone really, how about Bolt? Could he really run faster?
Oh, Usain Bolt?
Usain Bolt.
Okay.
Could he really run fast?
He's the fastest man in the world.
Yeah, so he is a sprinter from Jamaica.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he's incredible athletic career, athleticism. I would say that he has touched one aspect of his physical potential. Okay. As a sprinter.
But there's what
he could do in any other, strength training. How about endurance running? He hasn't touched that. So I do think that there are some individuals who glimpse one aspect of their actual potential, and the rest of us, man, we got this wide open field of evolution possible and expansion to be able to rise to that. Yeah.
But then it starts with the factory reset, right? Is that kind of... Wait, what were you saying?
No, I think that is, and you have to really kind of work yourself up to that. You have to start being very mindful of your mind, of being able to hear your thoughts and to recognize, wow, do I really consciously agree with this thought? Does this serve me? Is this holding me back? What is the message of this? Like, what should I do with this? And it's all of these kind of introspective questions that can help clear us to get to the next level. Is that, bottom line, ladies, anything that we want to do, we can do. but there's some stuff that we have to do to get there. And that's a beautiful part of the human reality, is that if you truly wanted to do something, you could do that.
That's the key. Truly want it.
Yes.
You know, you have to know yourself well enough. Do I want this because I really want this?
Yes.
Or because
In the moment,
my
it
brain
sounds
is
good,
telling
yeah.
me that it would look good or somebody would approve or whatever. You know, you got to really want it deep down,
Yes.
right? You know, and that's hard.
Yeah.
To know. some
Yeah,
of the
and
time.
it takes that's kind of where the work becomes, is really knowing yourself, but returning yourself to factory setting. Factory setting, in a nutshell, is divine greatness, is inherent greatness. You are divine. You are source energy. You are all that and a bag of chips. Like you're everything. You are all that is. And so you can do all of those things when we do return back to factory setting. And I'll tell you, through the work that I have been doing, maybe over the last year, I definitely am not back to factory setting, because number one, I'm still human. And it has to be very, in my opinion, it has to be very gradual and gentle, because otherwise it shakes your reality so much, and you can kind of go off the deep end there.
Yeah, it's a
For
little
sure.
overwhelming. Yeah. Hey, let's talk about your background though, because it's interesting that you've evolved to this at your age, which is only a few years younger than me,
So a spring chicken.
which is really young.
I'm a little
And,
gamey. That's how chicken my chicken is.
That's funny. But yeah, tell us about your upbringing. Like, first of all, you said you started having depression in your teenage years. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I think your background obviously is related to that. Like what triggered it is your place in the family, your crazy family. If you just want to share a little bit about your upbringing, it would be great.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about that other book?
The Invincible Forevermore.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you
We
mean?
have
Like
it here.
Yeah.
Another show and tell for everyone here.
we bought two.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So, and
We're prepared.
And I guess that I am so thankful that that I have an association with Sally, who was on your podcast previously, and that she was able to connect me with you, lovely ladies. But really what connected me was the title of your podcast is No More Secrets. And I actually had to do a little check-in with myself. I'm like, was Sally in which book was Sally in? I actually really got confused, because when she was telling her story and letting go of all of those secrets, I was like, oh no, I'm sure that was in the Invincibility book.
Invincible.
And I'm like, oh no, it wasn't.
Right.
I really did, because I got published in those two books last year in the same year. And so they kind of do get all little interwoven.
Yeah, because they're
in my head.
co-authored by women.
Yes.
And so they're very similar concept in terms of that.
Just different topics almost.
Yes.
It seems like.
And I think that it was a very beautiful and divine blessing for me, because I wrote my story. I actually wrote two in the Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore book. And then the 365 Days of Self-Love came out. And these books, even though they are different topics, for me, they were a perfect connect the dot kind of thing. I felt very invisible growing up, and carrying a lot of shame and secrets in my life. And I was never diagnosed with chronic depression, but you know what? I just was chronically depressed. Oh, is he going?
He's going to the bathroom, I think. So, excuse me, audience. but my baby needs help.
For this time, we have a person to
But-
help with it.
So the leash is on the hook there, and you could just put it on his collar, or he can just pee on the carpet. No. So
No more secrets.
Talk about exposing ourselves. Oh my God.
Just
Just let him do it on the carpet. It's fine.
That's fine. It's all good. I just want to get this. I want to talk. So you were the youngest of 9 kids, right?
Yes.
Which your age spread was huge.
Yes.
Because your parents married and then divorced and then remarried.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're the youngest. How much older is the oldest?
The oldest was about 24 years older. So she actually had a baby before I was born. So I have a niece that's older than me. Yeah.
That is very, very unique. Yeah.
That's
Weird
like
as a
me, like
word.
you're older than me.
I know. She's 29. I'm 30. So honestly,
It's kind of the same.
It's the same thing. Yeah. But you were also saying that with your family, it's not just because of the divorce and remarriage that there was 2 groups of kids, right? Like there was the olders.
Yes.
Oh,
And then the youngers. Oh, did something happen?
yeah. Sorry. I think Dunkel went Cujo. It's,
Poor Travis is having a day. First the technology stuff, and then now Cujo's on him.
You don't have to take him out, Travis. Okay. You can pee on the floor. Okay, go on. So yeah, 2 different groups of
Yes.
kids.
There were 6 older.
And some. Okay, and then there was also some was it step siblings or
Half
siblings?
Well, what does it mean if your dad is in the comment?
Half sibling.
Okay, so
Okay.
and that is frankly something I just don't care about. Like I have one sister who she has tried to figure this all out and she's just all team dad, and I'm like, I really just don't even have any care. And I think about it sometimes, I go, it could be my next door neighbor. Like, you know how weird things happen. Like 2 people start dating and you start talking about families and you're like, oh my gosh, you're my cousin. And I sometimes think about that. And I even think about that with my nieces and nephews. So being the youngest of 9, my kids, did you see that? 10 minutes left.
Yeah, we're gonna upgrade.
We're upgrading right now.
Please continue.
Yeah.
This is the
that's
comedy
funny.
show.
One more challenge. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Travis, just
You need to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'll keep talking to her
Okay.
for now.
I'm just gonna see what's happening with my baby.
Yeah. Take your headphones off.
Thank you. That didn't sound good.
What's happening out there?
But okay, so not only were you the youngest, but I was thinking how you said you didn't care, but your dad died when you were an early age, right? How old was he when you died? Or how old were you when he died?
I had my 4th birthday, and then he probably died maybe 3 weeks later. I'd have to go look up the date, but I was just barely 4 when.
So your memory of him is probably very different than the 24-year-old the one that's 24 years older than him, because being an adult and remembering him versus a toddler is a totally different story.
Yes. And, and I do remember the older kids would say things like, oh, you little ones are lucky. And I'm like,
Oh, really?
that's a bunch of baloney, because, okay, if I had to have my choice of growing up with a dad like that, then yes, I would take, having a dad die. Is it working for you?
Yeah.
Travis is on it. I think that's why he's on another device. So just minimize, maybe.
But we gotta make sure it's still recording.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Oh, good.
Now we'll see if hopefully that works. And we're gonna do this pro thing. More technical difficulties.
What are we doing?
I was trying to make it upgrade to pro,
Okay.
but
So you would take having your dad and growing up with him versus
No. If
the other way?
if I had my choice, I would have chosen a healthy dad that loved his kids.
Well, there you go.
That's what
Yeah.
I would have really chosen. But if I had to choose growing up like they did with an alcoholic narcissist that was mean and cruel to their mom, or losing my dad when I was 4, I would choose
Losing your dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I hated when they said that to me, because I was like, no, a little girl losing her dad is not lucky. And
Well, yeah.
but it's all relative, right?
definitely,
I think Travis is taking care of it.
Oh, he's taking care of it.
Yeah, I
If
told
not,
him.
we can always just stop and then redo it. You know what
Okay,
I mean?
right. Do another meeting if
Do
it comes to
another
that, and we would just,
Yeah, we'll
Edit
edit
that
it all
out.
together and stuff. So
yeah,
Yeah.
we're very natural here. We're human beings dealing with computers
and dog bites.
and dog bites.
Is he okay, by the way?
Travis says, "Oh, what is your Gmail cat whisker password?" Okay. So,
Oh my gosh, this is
so
so
did
funny.
you guys? Well, it is funny. It's good. It's going to be one of our best episodes. So, did you talk about how her dad died yet, or no?
No, just that he died when she was 4.
Okay.
So if you want to, do you want to elaborate on how he died?
Sure.
I know it's a very personal story, but
Well, and this
You
is,
wanna just
this
elaborate
is
on it?
really what, this was what my story in the Invincibility book was about.
Well,
And
that's true, right? The Shroud of Shame.
Really, it
Yeah.
really was the first public time I had ever said that. Like other people, individuals knew, but so my father ended his life with a gun, and if there's any silver lining in the cloud, is that he was living in his own house, and so he at least didn't do it at our house, and my mom had kicked him out because of some foolishness.
because of the narcissistic abuse,
God.
I'm assuming.
And it's just so interesting. Do you guys ever look back on what you have experienced and it be like a movie? Like you're like, yeah, remember that one movie we saw? That was all jacked up. And I look back at that and I go, yeah, that was all jacked up. So because the story goes okay. God bless my dad. I mean, I'm like, dude, like I want to have a conversation with him sometime. Like, what were you thinking? Like, what?
Yeah.
So apparently he was married before he married my mom the first time. And then they got married and my mom was 16 and she had her first baby when she was 17. So she got married and he was maybe 5 years older. So not a huge age spread, but then they had 6 kids. Then they got divorced. He married somebody else and apparently had some kids. They were separated for 10 years, and then my mom and dad remarried each other and had 3 more kids, and then so the story goes that he just needed somebody else to have sex with or something, and he got a young girl pregnant. And I don't know how old this girl was. I don't know if she was a minor. I don't know anything. It just was a young girl. So, don't envision 10 years old.
Great.
Hey,
There you go.
Travis.
Good job, Travis.
Yeah, thank you, Travis.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so this was 1970 in southern Idaho. Not a very progressive place to live. Little redneck action going on there, and the story goes that the girl's dad and brother would come over to our house looking for my dad, and gonna cause some
to kill him
or
beat him up.
Yes, threaten him, whatever. And he didn't live at our house, and so yeah,
It became very threatening. Didn't you say that, was it your sister or your mom, or one of your sisters or your mom saw someone in the window?
yeah, and I remember that.
Which was like gave us both the chills when we first heard it.
Yeah, we had dinner, and she was standing at the sink, and the curtains weren't closed. So when you're standing inside the house, it's dark, and
you're probably facing the window directly, like right next to it.
Yeah,
and then you see someone come up close to the window.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And so there were us three little
that really
kids,
freaks me out.
and then there were two teenagers two of my brothers and sisters were teenagers at the time. And so my teenage brother he must have been maybe 18 at the time. And he goes racing out the back door to go try to find whoever was out in the yard. And I can just remember that. And I'll tell you that that the fear and the fear is what was probably the biggest trauma that I experienced. It wasn't my dad's death. Okay. That I didn't feel like I needed to. I mean, I had to work through that as an adult, but as I did my work, I think that the bigger trauma was the lack of safety, or there was a threat there, and
there was someone at your house.
Yeah.
With guns.
Yes.
And you were
there was an actual threat
and at the time, right? 3 years.
Yeah.
That's scary for a little kid.
Yes.
That's scary for anyone. That's scary as an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw our reactions. We were like, if we saw that, I would feel very violated and uncomfortable that someone's coming onto my property.
Yes.
And peering in my windows, and all of that is just very, very creepy. So it's totally valid that you, as a 3-year-old, felt that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Felt the fear from it.
Yes.
It you talked too about how, so
There it is.
you guys never told him. Well, okay, fast forward, and then your dad killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you didn't tell people that he killed himself? I mean, they all knew you didn't have a dad, but nobody in town knew how he died?
Well, and it's kind of like an elephant in the room. Like,
okay, great.
You just don't talk about that. And
right.
We now and I can remember my brother and sister and I that really grew up together when we were teenagers. God bless it. We hated it so bad because we were the charity family. Because they don't have a dad. and nobody talks about why they don't have a dad. And I really wonder how many people did know what happened to my dad. And probably, I'm gonna honor them and give them the benefit of the doubt that they were just trying to be respectful, that it really wasn't a dinner conversation topic to talk about your dad killing himself.
This is reminding me of my dad's funeral. So my dad, he died. I mean, he was doing drugs for a long time, And he was just he abused his body. I mean, he overate, he like binged, he binged on everything. And at the end, he was doing multiple prescriptions worth of prescription painkillers. And we think it was like a slow overdose, right? Or the autopsy said it was heart failure officially, but it was because of all of this stuff in his body.
Yeah.
And I remember at the funeral, it was like a friend's parent that I grew up with. And I hadn't seen her in 20 years or something like that. This was like a childhood friend's parent, asked me what happened. And I was like, do I say the real reason? Or do I say something politically correct in this instance, even at the funeral? And this was in 2015. So I can't even imagine the silence and the shame that was in the 70s. When 2015, I still felt that shame of saying it was a slow overdose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like it's similar. It's not the same exact death, obviously, and it's not the same experience, but I can understand the not wanting to tell people all of the dark shit that your family has gone through.
People don't know what to say.
They don't know what. Yeah, they're stunned silent after that.
Yeah, and you know what? I see a great similarity. My dad did it the quick way, one bullet, and he was gone. And your dad was probably in as much pain, emotional, mental, and spiritual pain as my dad was. He just didn't do it the most overt way. And so, no, I mean, when we insult our bodies like that, why is that any different than pulling a trigger?
Good point.
True.
And and it is just
more drawn out.
Yes, exactly.
It's actually more painful. Yeah.
Yeah.
His blood sugar was 374 on the autopsy.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be under 100.
Yes.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Right there alone. And there were multiple other issues. So he must have really been in a lot of pain to treat his body that way, right?
Yes. Yes, because, I mean, why else would he do it? He is trying to numb that pain, or he's got, I don't know, I'm diagnosing him, just throwing out some ideas. Like, why the hell did my dad shoot himself?
Well, yeah, right.
Do you think it was, did you and your family talk about it at all? Like, have discussions, like theories of why he might have done this? Or, like, did you have questions growing up about it? Were able to talk to your mom about it, or was it silence in the house too?
I honor my mom for, I just, and I wrote that there's the second story in the Invincibility book that I wrote in honor of my mom. I loved my mom, and and especially as an adult, and you look back and you're healing all of your wounds and stuff. And as an adult woman, I stepped into the shoes of my mother, and I was like, how the hell did she even survive that?
And seriously. 16 when she started. Yeah.
I never remember her bad mouthing my dad. But he treated her like crap. Like, she would tell some examples of what he said to her and how he treated her. And it was, she just is like, yeah, this is what he said to me. And I'm like going, and like, I would ask her questions like, why did you remarry him?
That was my question. Yeah.
Yes. But when you understand about the, and my mom has her own story, she has her own subconscious programs and identities and the shit that she went through in her life.
Right.
And when you live with a narcissist, you are disabled. You are broken down. You are demoralized. You are like handicapped. And I say that with complete love and acknowledgement for anyone who is living or has lived with a narcissist, or anybody on that spectrum, is that it's not just that they're not nice people. They destroy you inside. And your ability to, now, number one, you can recover and heal from that, but it is not just, oh, somebody was not nice to me. No, they try to eat your heart for lunch. They try to eat your soul. And
then make it seem like it's your fault.
That's exactly right. And so, yeah, I get a little upset about like somebody was bad mouthing on social media that they're like, people are using this term too much and they're not taking responsibility. And I'm like, you need to back that train up, brother, because you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what the mental damage that narcissists do to their source. And so I acknowledge that for my mom. Now, and she, I mean, and you know, God bless her, she totally answered the question. She goes, your dad was charismatic. Your dad was a charming man. And here I have 6 kids. I have dropped out of high school at 16 and I have 6 kids, and he's been gone for 10 years, and he promised to get baptized and saved. And so that was a big clincher.
And that was really big in your family, right? You came from a really, was it strict religious household?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that was, it looked like a token of good faith, is that he's coming back. He's love bombing. He's changed. He's going to get baptized. He's going to stop smoking, blah, 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 blah.
Empty promises.
Yeah. Yeah. And then 3 kids later, and then
another person that.
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering what I was hearing. Okay. I kept trying to shake this and do this and stuff.
I didn't even notice that. That's funny. There was a fan hitting a chord and it was going like really loud. So on our end.
So when you were a teenager, you started being depressed. Oh, I really want to read this. Just this one part of the Shroud of Shame.
Okay.
Shroud of Shame.
Say that 10 times fast. Shroud of shame. Shroud of shame.
Shout of shame.
Shroud of shame. Shroud of shame. It's hard.
But when you talk about you began a journey as an invisible girl because your father's suicide. Okay, I'll just start quoting you. My father's suicide became a huge, dirty secret that I shamefully kept hidden from the world, lugging it from place to place. It grew into a thick shroud of disabling shame, burying me within. It was a cruel taskmaster for such a little girl, 4 years old, right? So I almost let the cat out of the bag in 7th grade science class. I remember it so clearly. A classmate was pestering me about not having a dad. I told him that he died. It was the truth. The boy asked how he died. I told him he got shot. It was the truth. He was astonished. He then asked if they knew who did it. Yes, they knew. It was the truth. The teacher then interrupted the interrogation. It was all just a dirty little secret filled with wretched shame that I could do nothing about. Just shove it down a little further and continue pretending you are normal as the shameful secret continues to whisper messages to the contrary. Yeah. And so you evolve into teenage years, right? And you've got all of these secrets inside, and you feel dirty and you feel shameful. And so when you say you were depressed, how did that manifest itself? Because I think you were also quite functional. Is that correct?
Oh, I was highly functional. I was actually, later on I got married, and I was married for 25 years, and my mother-in-law never knew. I was like, yeah, because I'm really good at hiding it. And you're the walking. I had the type of depression that I was the walking dead. I was highly functional. I was a high achiever. And I accomplished more in my life than I really thought I was going to. And I was still fucking depressed. And I really think that the depression is based on the shame, is that I am, you should be ashamed of yourself. I am shameful. It isn't a simple emotion. It becomes an identity statement. I am a mistake. I am pathetic. I am a shame. When you are truly ashamed of yourself, not like, oh, dude, I made a mistake. I stepped on your toe. My bad. I'm sorry. It's no, my whole entire fundamental essence is a mistake. Yes.
And you know what's really sinister about shame specifically is that you have all these bad feelings about yourself, and you think that, like what you said, I'm a mistake, I am this, I am that, and then you also feel like you can't talk about it, so then it just stays in there with you, and then it doesn't leave, and then of course it's going to fester and turn into a depression, and if you don't deal with it, it could last for a couple decades, like how it did with you.
Yeah. How about 3 decades?
3 decades. Wow.
Yeah. And so, at the beginning, we were talking about those subconscious programs. And so I would fundamentally say that my foundation statement was, I am a mistake. I'm like, you should be ashamed of yourself. I am ashamed of myself.
Because when you say a mistake, like you don't think they wanted to have you, or
no, I don't think my mom did. I think that
true. My 9th child, yeah.
And my sister that's just older than me had barely turned 1, and they got pregnant again.
Oh.
And so it was just a messed up situation. It was a very messed up situation. And so really, when you feel like you're nothing but a shame, like, why would you not be depressed?
Right. Mm-hmm. But yet you hit it so well.
Yes. And really what my MO was, if I can accomplish something, if I can do good, if I can be good, it's kind of like the I am fat. If I can lose weight, then I can love myself. If I am a mistake, well, if I can go to college, if I can go to graduate school, if I can get a job as a professor, if I can get married, if I can have a house out in the country and 2 dogs and 2 beautiful children, then I could be happy then. But you're a mistake, Delores. You're pathetic. You should be ashamed of yourself. There's really nothing that you can do that really can make up for this. It really doesn't matter if you get the Nobel Peace Prize, because you know what? You're like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're just a mistake. So really, my depression, and the therapist that actually cracked the code on my depression, she actually told me, she goes, Delores, I don't really think you're depressed. And I'm like, oh, that's really funny.
Your therapist said that?
Yeah. And I'm like, no, really, lady, it's pretty dark in here, like I'm struggling all the time. And like, girls, I would wake up in the morning, the vast majority of my life, and I'd kind of look outside and I'd be like, well, how dark do I feel today? Like, is it just a little dark, or is it like really dark? Like, I would check my darkness level. Like, how do I feel today? Like, how much can I do? And,
not even thinking light, just like, how dark is it?
Yeah.
Dark or very dark, or, that's sad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when this therapist was working with me, I'm like, lady, I really think I am depressed, but he really helped me understand that there's causes of depression. Like, what is the cause? Like, the depression is really just a symptom. It is a symptom. What is going on? I list down all the things that I did and accomplished and had. And I had a wonderful husband. And we adopted 2 kids. We adopted 2 dogs. We built a dream house. I mean, everything was lining up. And Delores still struggles with depression. That just doesn't make sense. And so really what she helped me to understand that the root of that was the fundamental lack of self-love. And if you want to call it low self-esteem, I'm going to kind of call it no self-esteem. I did not esteem myself worth anything.
Wow. And you didn't really acknowledge that until she cracked it? Like really admit that?
Well, I knew that I knew that I didn't like myself. Like a lot of people don't like themselves.
But you just kept going and just sort of like shoving it aside and kept accomplishing things.
Well,
and
I kept trying to make myself worth something that I could like.
Oh, wow. Instead of just liking yourself because you exist.
Yeah. Like that's foolish. Like who does that? Like how do you do that? And that was my fundamental life, is that keep doing things so that you can be worth something. Yeah.
And I feel like that ties back into the deprogramming that you were talking about, because in order to like yourself, you have to find out who yourself is first. Like at the core level and everything. My voice cracked. I'm going through puberty.
So you mentioned a certain kind of therapy, and we actually had a therapist on the show that talked about EMDR therapy. And I had forgotten about that, but that was really one of the main things that helped, I don't know, change your direction, change your path, release you from the hells of depression, or what you said that was the key.
Yeah. And I had been introduced by a previous therapist to note, I have years of therapy under my belt. I was doing all of the checklist kind of things. Come on. I am a nutritionist. I live out in the country. I have 2 dogs. I have a loving husband. I exercise. I eat well. I sleep. All of these things.
On paper, a dream life for sure.
Right. And yet I'm still depressed. Yeah. And so I had always been in counseling and just working through things. And you know what? I honor all of the therapists that I worked with, because it was just incremental. And one had introduced me to EMDR, and it wasn't her main modality. And
what does that stand for again?
So it stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing.
Okay.
And so they will either have a light bar where it's just a sequence of lights that you'll be talking as in just regular therapy, but you'll be making your eyes go side to side. And what it does is it activates and balances the 2 hemispheres of the brain, and really, really opens up the corpus callosum to be able to reprogram. And it is one of the most effective modalities for PTSD. Yeah.
Wow.
So these are, the people that are just struggling so much, even though they're not in the situation anymore, and they're struggling. And so EMDR. So years prior, I was introduced to it, and she only did maybe a couple of sessions with me. And then time went on, and I looked back into it, and I don't even, girls, I don't even honestly know why I even remembered it, because that other therapist only did a couple of things, and it was kind of obnoxious, to tell you the truth. But it stuck in the back of my mind, and I started doing research. I was not rehired at the university that I was teaching at. And so I'm like, hey, I'm going to cure this stupid depression. I'm so tired of living with it. I'm so tired of every decision was based on the depression. How depressed am I, and what can I do to feel better? Everything, everything.
Wow. Were you still married?
Yes.
Okay, and that's 2015, right? When
Yes.
you said...
Yeah, we got divorced in 2016. Yeah.
Okay, after you started
Yeah.
sort of tackling
Yeah.
the depression and really taking a look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It became my kind of my passion project. I'm like, I'm going to prove that we can cure this stupid depression. And I'm not saying that about all types of depression. I'm saying it about mine because frankly, I was really tired of it. I was just like, I felt pathetic because I had nothing to be depressed about, but I was depressed.
And that actually makes it worse sometimes. You know, I always said that to people, people that have anxiety and they don't know why, it's better that you have a big, huge reason to have anxiety because it makes sense.
And then you can also get rid of the thing that gives you anxiety or alter it or something, but but if it's just there, it's just there.
Yeah. And to be sure that I did have a reason to be depressed. I just didn't know what it was. But that therapist who, that I say decoded it, broke the code, that it really was. It was self-loathing. It wasn't low self-esteem. Like I'm like, I would like low self-esteem because
that's a step up. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, when you fundamentally see no value in yourself, and you're just the fucking Walking Dead. You're just like, dude, like, what's the point of this? And Then we can
amazing.
talk about my own, I had an escape plan. I don't call it a suicide plan because that's kind of harsh, but I did have an escape plan, and it actually was a form of comfort that if things got really too bad, that I knew how I could get out.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Were you sharing this with anybody? Your husband, a friend? Did anybody even have a clue that you were this dark?
My journal did. And I have not, I write a lot, and I always have. And, I don't go back and read that stuff, but I still have it. He knew that I struggled with depression, and I honor him. And this is kind of weird that I'm talking about my ex-husband like this, but I do honor him for creating a safe space for me to heal, because he never would, roll his eyes at me like, what is wrong with you? Like, he didn't. And I honor him for his, patience and tolerance, and living with a depressed person. That is not an easy life.
Oh, wow. How about your daughters? Do they?
Well, I have
a daughter and
a
son, right? Yeah. Were they affected by it, and did they know what you were going through as kids?
No, they just thought I was a mean mom,
Oh.
And I was being a kid to a depressed mom, and it's almost kind of like bipolar. You have your good days, and then you have your dark days. And so bipolar is you're depressed or you're manic. I wasn't manic. I would have good days. Mm-hmm. And so it created, I wasn't depressed, actively depressed 100% of the time. And so it made it an unstable environment. They just didn't know
which mom
they
were going to get. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
You know that feeling, yeah.
yeah, and so you know, when I went through the major breakthrough, and then the divorce happened, I have had conversations with my children. They're young 20s right now, and I have apologized for them having to have a depressed mom, and that it was difficult. And I acknowledge that, and that anytime that they want to open a conversation up with me, I am open for that. I had even considered, I kind of stepped into a vision one time of one of my kids going to therapy and being able to communicate to the therapist while I was there of how much pain that they experienced, because one of my kids seems to be more affected by the experience. And I honestly, I felt like I could actually handle that, is hearing the pain that it caused and being able to, because I am like 100% sorry. And so being able to, if that would help them heal and resolve that, I would do that. Now, that hasn't happened. Maybe that's going to happen. I don't know.
I love that you're so self-aware, and that you owned it, because it's easy when you are depressed, and everyone in this room has been depressed, and we go through phases of it. It's easy to not take accountability for how you treat others, but the fact that you are taking accountability for anything that you may have done is huge. And I think I think as a from a kid's perspective, I think that would mean a lot to them to hear that you at least acknowledged it.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
That you're able to do that.
Well, how about no more secrets? Let's talk about the elephant that's in the room. Mom, I grew up with a depressed mom. And you know what? The depressed mom now knows that she was depressed and that she's sorry about it. And so I do honor myself for being able to own it. And I was so sorry my kids had to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And just telling them, if and when you're ever ready, I'm willing to talk about it. And you can't, don't feel like you need to protect me. Do what you need to do to be healthy.
That's right.
And just putting that out there is, I think, right now, good enough for them. They're 22 and 24, you said, right?
Yeah.
So, pretty young, like how you were when you moved down here. You were 22. So, things change.
I remember when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, she's
3 weeks ago. I thought you were going to say something like that.
True story.
Yeah, when you were in your 20s, so long ago.
Remember back then?
Not even a month. Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a good relationship with your ex-husband and your kids. I mean, good enough, just by, not talking about this yet, but still okay.
Yeah.
Or at least working on it, right?
Absolutely. I have a wonderful relationship and very different relationship with each of my kids. And, I'm still the parent. I'm still the mom. And I get to decide. This is killing me. This is breaking my heart. I get to decide what kind of mom I am now.
Why is that breaking your heart to say
Because
that?
it's such freedom. I wish that I could have taken that choice when they were younger. And I was so victimized and debilitated and a victim of the depression. And so to be on the other side of the line and to be able to consciously choose what kind of mom I get to be now, it's like redemption.
That's so nice.
We don't obviously understand completely what you're going through, but we understand having somebody say that to you, somebody that that is like, I'm here, I'm 100% here, and I'm doing what I can, and 150% of what I want to, so that's pretty meaningful. I mean, I hope your kids, I mean, they're still pretty young, but I hope they understand that at some point, or they will understand how sorry you were or are.
Well, it's we've had multiple conversations, me individually with each one of them, and it's I tell them that I am thankful that they allow me to be in their life, and gosh, that's a humbling part of motherhood. Of maybe I didn't feel that as much before, but seeing that relationship so delicate and so threatened, and we're on the other side, that we're still in each other's lives and loving on each other. There's relationship goals that I still have for each one of them. And that's okay, because that means that relationship is growing and expanding, evolving. And that's wonderful. I love my kids. I just love my kids. Yeah.
You can tell. We can tell by the way you talk about your relationship with them, and how your reaction to yourself growing in the relationship. I think it really is touching to see.
It's visceral. Yeah. It's just so. And what I love about it is that they're adopted, and you can love a human being and a kid of biological or not. When you're a mom, right? And you just love them. I mean, you just can't. It's just a different kind of love. Did you adopt them as babies?
Yeah, they were both brand new. My son was 2 days old, and my daughter was a day old. And
oh my gosh,
yeah. And you know what? And they're not biological brother and sister. Two very separate families.
Okay.
They're my kids, and I. One thing that I learned going through the adoptive process was it is not their identity, is that they are my kids and I adopted them. I'm their adoptive mother. They are not my adoptive kids. They're my kids.
They're your kids.
And you look at it, is that adoption actually is a one-time deal. You're not forever adopted. You were adopted. It's a legal transaction from the state of Texas to the Garcia family that we are now taking ownership, parentage, whatever, of these custody of these two humans. And it's it was a beautiful experience, and wonderful conversations. Yeah.
I have a couple friends. Well, it's friends that is a couple who just recently adopted. It sounds like the same process from a baby, where you go through the court, then you have to do all the legal stuff from it and stuff. But this is just tangent. But it's really great that people like you and people like them are giving these kids a chance and a home that they might not have had otherwise. And it's really, really great. And I can tell from both parties that it's very rewarding too. Like you get, you love those kids because they are your kids.
Yes,
for sure.
And so let's just go ahead and stir the pot. Okay. Well, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to stir the pot. Okay, this adoption story is all beautiful. It's all lovely. It's all fine. But I'm a depressed mom.
Oh.
So the guilt of not being a good mom went from here to here.
Because you
chose
to adopt these and
brought
then
them into the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I promised, we had private adoptions, and we met the birth moms. I promised, they chose us as the adoptive family. I promised them, of course, they didn't know that I had depression. Yeah.
And you promised.
Is that, I'm just curious, is that a qualification? Do they say that on some form beforehand?
Not that I recall. I don't know if it's, if you, I don't honestly recall. It's been 20 years ago. So
Makes sense, yeah.
I can't remember all what you write on there and all what you have to answer, but
Okay.
I will tell you that it added a different level of guilt and regret and self-judgment and self-condemnation. Is that here I promised to take care of these two little kids and I'm a mess. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Do you really
Yeah.
think? I mean, I know that's how you feel, but were you that much of a mess? I mean, they're still in your life, and they're functional adults, I'm assuming, and you love them. Maybe you were real, right? Were you? I mean, in what way do you think you failed them?
I don't know that I failed them, but I do have regrets, and I don't know how to compare it to anybody else's regret of not feeling like they're a good mom.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it's kind of like, how do you describe pain? My pain versus your pain is that I do have regrets. I have gone through a lot of self-work of forgiveness and grace and understanding. And your point is very well taken, is that they are still in my life, and I still am desiring to grow and evolve and expand those relationships. And
yeah. So they find it's important to them, and you're valuable to them and your ex-husband.
yeah.
Did
So-
you guys ever have a conversation about, I mean, you said that you apologized to them. Did they ever verbally, or maybe not, maybe just through their actions, show that they forgave you?
See, that's a funny one because I can think about my daughter, and she's a little more expressive than my son is. And,
Okay.
and that we can just have those kind of conversations. Is that there's been a couple of times I've apologized for something, and she's like, Mom, that's not how it happened. And that's not how I experienced it. Yes. So yes, your points are very well taken. Am I being too harsh on myself for how I experienced their childhood versus how they experienced their childhood? Now, there have been some memories that have been placed on the table. Yeah, remember when this happened? And I am humbled. I am apologetic. I'm owning it. I want to talk about it. I want to, and both of them have brought instances. Yeah, remember when you did this? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And having to really talk about it. So how much am I just feeling in and of myself, and how much did they really experience? Yeah.
It's hard to know,
Yeah.
but nice to have a parent that's really trying hard to do it differently.
Yeah.
My parents, they just kept doing the same thing over and over again, and it was always everybody else's fault.
Yes.
So to have a mother, for me, that really wants to know me and really wants to understand what I went through as a kid. I was hoping for that on her deathbed. I thought, okay, finally, we're going to have some real conversations now, in the last few months of her life, and it just never happened. And so, I mean, that alone is a gift is just huge for a kid. Just saying, here I am. This is what happened. We were there, but I'm still here, and I want to know you. This is what I was wishing from Grandma Betty. I want to know you.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about you and how it was for you growing up with all this, you know. And no, none of that. Nope.
Yeah.
And so that's beautiful that you can own that.
Yeah.
You know.
It stings a little bit sometimes. I won't lie to you about that. You're just like, oh yeah, that was
you
bad.
kind of want to be like, yeah, well, you know, but you know, I had a lot of shit going on.
But I feel like you're also, it probably stings to be self-aware like that, but then you're also very, when we talked on the phone just like a week ago, you were very gracious to the people that had hurt you too. And you had a lot of love for those people too, where you like, yeah, they hurt me, but I still understand and that I that I love. It's happening again. That I love them and that I had love for them, and it's just complicated how they were so bad to you also. But I really like that perspective though, that you're trying to work on yourself, but then you also have patience and grace for other people too,
especially her father.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about let's not make them the villain all the time, because they were human beings too, and they were hurting, and they didn't get what they needed out of this life for some reason, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so interesting, very, very to your point is that, and I just saw this, you know, flash on a meme that it is very indicative of your self-healing, that you can allow other people to be human too. And you know what? My dad was the villain. He inflicted a lot of pain and suffering on a lot of people. And he was also a hurting human being.
Mm-hmm. And two truths are the same, or both things are true at the same time. Yeah,
they are. And so I love giving grace. Grace is so much easier for me to give than forgiveness. That still gets caught in my craw a little bit because I'm a little confused about it. And it's just so much easier to give grace because you're like, dude, I totally understand it.
Right.
And, you were so human. And maybe that's what I want with my kids is just give your mama some grace. Like I was doing the best that I could do. I was under this black cloud all the fucking time.
Yeah. But you didn't check out. You didn't run away.
No, maybe a little bit I did.
Well, like meaning to Europe.
Oh,
like
no.
you were still there.
Botswana,
there you go.
She went to India to find herself.
Had some chai tea along the way, you know, yeah. It's great.
No, you were still there and you were still trying, you know.
I was.
As best you could, you know.
Yes.
So how about your siblings, though? And this is something we also have in common is that Katie and I have been called the black sheep of the family because we've tried to shed light on some of the things that were really hard to deal with. And it doesn't mean that anybody was wrong or right. It just was that way. But then somehow you get outcasted, mostly by my parents, and they're gone now, you know. But you called yourself that too, is that correct?
Yeah, I really do feel like I'm the blackest of the black sheep. And it's so funny because, well, funny, I don't know if funny is the right word, but the fifth child in the family, my sister, she just passed away like 2 weeks ago or something. So there's been a little bit of, you know, resurgence of family stuff.
Did you go to the funeral or?
No.
No, it's not like that.
Was up in northern Utah. No, and I will never go to one of their funerals.
Okay.
So out of all of these brothers and sisters, I only have a conscious, active relationship with the sister that is just older than me. Okay.
Wow.
So, but note my words that is a conscious, intentional decision to have her in my life. So I don't know if that comes across egotistical, but I don't allow those other people in my life. And so when
Not egotistical. I think it's just boundaries.
Yeah, it's
it is
healthy.
boundaries, and it's a very conscious decision. It's a very conscious decision, and I even told that to my kids, is that I consciously choose to have you still in my life, because I could have shut them all out. I could have shut everybody out, and
Going to India.
Go to India.
Have some chai tea.
Chai tea.
Make it a double. And so when my sister passed away, I actually wrote 2 memories of this particular sister and posted them on Facebook as kind of a memorial to my sister. And she was the oldest teenager living at home when my dad killed himself. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So she was like 18 or 19, and then I was 4. And so but she was the oldest teenager that was living there at home. So, so I wrote these 2 specific memories, just as love, and especially to her kids, to a few of the nieces that, I mean, literally are maybe 10 years younger than me. Because remember, age.
Yeah, right.
Jacked up. And so I know these girls. And so I kind of did that just to give some love to them. Their mom just died. And so anyway, long story, the sister that I have a friendship, a relationship with, she and I were talking about this. And I go, okay, in my opinion, there are 2 factions in the siblings. And it's not the older 6 and the younger 3. I go, there are certain of us that belong together and certain of us that don't. And so I told this to my sister, and she's, a year and a half older than me. And I'm like, who belongs in the 2 categories? And she totally pegged it.
Wow.
She totally pegged it. I was like, see, I'm not making this up in my mind. There are 4 of us that belong together over here in the blackish sheep. And then there are 5 that are in the other group, the popular kids. And I mean, it is so interesting. So I did that pop quiz with my sister. I'm like, am I just making this up, or who belongs with who? And she's like, yeah, totally. And she totally named it exactly the way that I would have. And so the sister that died was in the black sheep with us. And it just, you know what? We were born of the same 2 parents.
Okay.
And that is the end of my commonality with those other 8 people.
Wow. Yeah.
So I have a little different paradigm of family and obligation and relationship. I would rather, and I choose who is in my life consciously and intentionally. Okay. And I'm sorry that there are 8 people other people that were born of the same 2 parents, but I did not sign any moral obligation, agreement, and commitment and decree that I have to have them in my life. So
I like that.
That's actually really important. Yeah.
And so Katie, you said it really well. It's boundaries.
Definitely.
Don't obligate me to be nice to these people when I don't really care for them.
Right.
Yeah. You get to that point where you're like, I don't really like you. Like if I met you on the street today, I would never be friends with you.
That's right.
But you talk about 8 other people, but you have the one sister that you've consciously chosen to stay close to. Wasn't there another sibling that died?
Yeah.
When the sibling was young?
No, my oldest sister died, but she was an adult. She was like in her 70s.
Okay, so nobody in your family died when they were 14?
No.
Okay. made that up.
I'm like, oh, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe I can't.
She was thinking about it.
She's like, I can't keep track because, there's so many of us. And you know what else I loved about your excerpt in here is, in this this book, is how you were referred to as, what number are you? What number are you? They didn't remember your name, a lot of people. What number are you? Oh, you're the 9th kid of so-and-so and so-and-so. Yeah, no name. Talk about invisible, you know? Especially when you're the 9th. And yeah.
And it was, as I had written in the story, is that, it was kind of like Mom was the old woman who lived in a shoe and she had too many children. She didn't know what to do. And I just had the burden of being the ninth member of the flock, the litter. It was a litter.
It was a litter.
It does kind of seem like that, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, dude, I had nothing to do with this. I got told which line to get in, and then I got born. That's all there was to it.
Right. Yeah, you didn't ask to be put here.
Yeah.
I didn't choose this. You guys did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about flygirl.nation.
So flygirl.nation is my passion. And she definitely is a work in progress. So the word fly is actually an acronym, and it stands for First Love Yourself. And it actually, I had seen that acronym as when I was going through the divorce and settling into a new life. And I was working as a personal trainer at the time, and I actually would write a word on my forearm every day in Sharpie. And so like I would write invincible. I would write, I sometimes even wrote quotes on my arm. And I did it for myself because I was in such a transition place. And it really became a thing. I was training at the YMCA, and I had my clients and my group and everything. And there would be people that would find me every day to see what my arm said.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
yeah.
I was always looking for something. And so I found that acronym FLY. And
okay.
And that's where I had originally found it. And I just kind of tucked it in the back of my head. I was like, that's kind of cool. And I know that there's some other meanings to it, but I just loved that acronym. And when everything transitioned and I started my own coaching business, that it was reminded to me in a dream as I was beginning to brand and to figure out really what kind of work, what kind of healing work was I going to do. And so think about my background in self-loathing.
Right. And here you are. First love yourself.
Yes. And so can you understand how I understand that on maybe a little different level, that coming from being a mistake and being ashamed of myself, and being able to step, it used to drive me crazy when people would say, oh, cheer up about the depression. Oh, good idea. Gosh, I hadn't thought of that. I just need to cheer up. Or when you're feeling bad about yourself, you just need to love yourself.
Okay.
Like, oh, good idea. I hadn't even
thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
People with their, simplicity, but you don't get it. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So now, is it an actual movement, or is this your website, flygirl.nation?
Right now, she is just standing as my mascot, my logo, my brand conversation. And she's still evolving, still.
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
So
But
I
you
haven't-
created that. You created that website, flygirl.nation.
My active website is Delores Garcia coaching.com or .now.site. I can't even remember the ending of it. And but I am flygirl.nation on both Facebook and Instagram. And I just haven't, it's a business thing, it's a branding thing, and I
like it.
Expanded into it. But I searched for that logo. She is a shero with a red cape. She is spectacular. She is she just represents so much to me. The femininity, the strength, the presence, the awareness. And but I'll admit to you girls that you really don't first love yourself. First, you need to know yourself and know who you and what you truly are, because that is indeed what self-love is based on.
Wow.
Yeah. So I lied to you. It's actually second, love yourself. First, no, but it's a terrible acronym.
It's Sly Girl.
Sly Girl.
Sly Girl, yeah, instead of Fly Girl.
Right?
I like that actually a lot.
I kind of do.
or Fakai Girl.
Yeah,
First know yourself, Fakai Girl.
There was, and I think it is the Buddha that actually is that is one of the tenets, is to know thyself. And when you truly know who and what you are, not what the human has done or not done, but what your true essence, your high self is, pure self-love does originate from that.
Wow. I feel like that's a good way to end this talk. But I would like to have you back on and have I should probably ask you, right? Because you're part of this.
Sometimes.
What
hard to
I would
say.
like to talk about your struggles with forgiveness, because I have the same. And so maybe something about forgiveness versus grace.
Yes.
Okay. Could we talk about that? Because my mom was all about forgiveness, but her definition of forgiveness was enabling. And so I feel like
That's a good point.
yeah, I would just love to. I feel like that's a whole nother discussion that we could have if you're willing.
For
Absolutely.
another time, definitely, yeah.
And especially because I'm coming from such a strict religious background.
That's right. And she
that's
was
where my forgiveness issues come from. And the thing is that it's really a non-issue. So yes, let's talk about that.
Let's do that. That's our next topic.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll agree to it.
It's nice. It's kind of how we started the podcast, when we just announced it and didn't, but now here we are. But no, that's a huge one for me. And I also, as much as you want to share about the religious background, is great, because my mom always kind of, I don't want to say hid behind her religion, but thought that was the solution, was the religion, and that's what her religion wanted her to do, was to forgive. But it was enabling in my book. So it was complicated. So
Yes.
I love this.
Next time, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I know for a fact that it is not just you nor me or anybody else, just individuals that are struggling with that, is that that is, I think that's a human struggle that has been very corrupt. So
Okay.
let's go ahead and do that favor for the collective. Yeah.
Listeners, ... and viewers. Dolores, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for waiting for 52 minutes to get this started. And and really, really a great conversation, and more to come. And we would love to link all of your, maybe you even want to send us your current
Yeah,
Okay.
send us the exact links
Yeah.
of both the fly girl or sly girl, as we affectionately call it.
Or Fakai girl.
Fakai girl. And also your website, too. We'll link it in the episode description.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
everything.
I'll send that to you. Yeah.
Great.
No, that's good. And you know what? Thank you for opening the conversation. And although it takes some courage and some patience and some tenacity to be able to do this, I honor you in your mission, both of you, in your mission for being able to talk about those things that we couldn't talk about before. And that's where the conversation needs to be.
I love it. Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for recognizing that, because that's our life's work, right now, or one of them.
One of our identities of the greater
Right.
whole.
Exactly.
Yeah. All that stuff, right?
Blah, blah, blah.
But thank you
right.
for coming on. I think this was a really great conversation. I think people can take a lot from it. You've lived a life so far, and you're still got more going on and everything.
Yeah, you're like only
Lived a
halfway.
lot.
Halfway, maybe.
I have
of the way.
50,
Been through a lot.
50 more good years. So
I would say-
it's only
Definitely.
getting better. Yeah.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
All right.
All
Be
right.
well, and we'll
Thank
till
you.
the next time.
Yes.
Until the
I
next
love it.
time.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
right.
you all for listening.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.